What's going on, everybody? So today I want to talk about this post here, the one true biggest problem with this game. This is kind of a funny post because I actually have a video that I posted about 3-4 months ago at this point called The Biggest Problem in Diablo Immortal. It actually ended up becoming like front page Reddit. So this is something that's been upvoted a lot. And it seems that the same people that think the video that I made is a big problem are the same people that think this person, what they're claiming, is the biggest problem of this game. I'm going to say whether or not I agree, as well as go over a few things. But if we jump in here, we'll see what they basically say as you read through this. They basically mention that the Shadow and Immortal mechanic is the biggest problem in the game. You can see there that the clan is super competitive. The leader crumbled under the stress involving running our clan. Same thing happened to our next leader. I now find myself as the leader. I'm trying best not to let politics ruin the fun. I'll just say this right off the bat, guys. First off, the game, running a competitive clan, it will have drama, period. You cannot have a competitive clan and have a perfect amount of 100 people, never ever have any problem with anything. But for example, one of the biggest problems with our clan, when we were immortal for a brief period with another clan, was that we had a few people that maybe missed the sigil turn-in or turned in the following week. And then we had a bunch of people go absolutely ham on these people, insulting them or just bringing them down because they either made an honest mistake, which is often what happens, or they didn't realize that they were supposed to turn it in because they didn't pay attention to the clan mails. Now, this is something that is very commonplace. When you're tryharding, people want to do everything to min-max everything that they got. That's the thing with tryharding and being a competitive clan. It's impossible for people to, unless they do everything perfect, which never happens, then there's always going to be something that someone has a problem with. And then you're going to say, try best to not let the politics ruin the fun. Well, you have to enjoy the politics or it will ruin the fun, because Blizzard has explicitly stated that this is how they want the game to take place. They want it to be a Game of Thrones where you're backstabbing each other, where you're trying to get, climb on top of each other, where you're trying to, work with each other, whatever it is. That is the point of the Shadow and Immortal system. So if you are a leader or if you're an officer or if you're someone in this system, you kind of have to enjoy the politicking because it is what this game is about, unless you have a massive alliance, which is kind of politics already, or you just have a massive amount of whales that you just win every single time. And then you can see here, it's quite clear that the only strongest clans will become immortal, and the immortals will only align with the two strongest shadow clans. This is mostly true, unless you are, for example, on our server, we didn't necessarily ally with the two strongest clans. We just picked people that we wanted to join us. Or we actually made 3 clans. I actually, along with a couple of other people that helped me run it, ran 3 clans. I managed 3 different clans, recruited for 3 different clans earlier on into the game, and then I delegated some leaders later on, and we ran an immortal system, all 3 of our clans together. We were actually one of the weakest clans on the server, but because we had amazing organization and we had amazing planning, we were actually able to beat every other clan on the server and get immortal all by ourselves with 3 clans named of ourselves, while people were coming at us as a server. The whole server wanted to bring us down because they perceived us as the biggest threat. But in reality, we weren't at all, because we had 1 5K player in the entirety of our clan, whereas the next clan had 6, 7 5K players, easily able to beat us. But because we planned way better than everyone on the server, we just outclassed them in terms of couple of immortal fights. So that's something that we ended up doing, but we also didn't want to participate in the backstabbing. We didn't want to do the drama. So the first immortal fight, we actually basically said, hey, we're gonna have a fair fight. We're just gonna go in 3v3v3v3, and then a bunch of clans teamed up on us right in the first immortal fight, like 2 weeks into the game. And that just is what happens, right? That's just what happens. That's the point of the system. And you can see this person goes on to say, after each fight, we lose our strongest players who leave us to join the new immortals. Never mind how much we've gotten to know each other. This is just what people want to do. They want to go to the whales. Same thing happened to our clan. People, they wanted to be competitive. They wanted to win. And I had to straight up tell them, I was like, guys, server merges happen. There's like 35k to 7k players in another clan. We have 3. There's no way we can actually beat them at all anymore. It's not even about organization and planning, because when it comes down to it, we just can't beat the 3v3v3 fight anymore. It wasn't possible. And this is just what happens. You know, all these hours helping each other. For some, the desire to become immortal is above all. You should, I'm not saying that they're surprised by this, but most people, if you're a leader, you know this. There's no surprise in this. People will go to the strongest clan, whoever has the most whales. That's just what happens. And, you know, you have to accept that. And if you're not planning on becoming the biggest whales, then you have to accept that other clans will steal some players from you or poach, whatever you want to call it. And you can see the devs have created a game that pits us against each other. Absolutely. So they have it on the nose, and it is absolutely by design. But in reality, we're more like-minded than people may realize. Most of us in our clan live in the same country and we love playing Diablo, yet the mechanics of the game creates tension, much of it negative. This is 100% true. A lot of people have that same ideal, but then you come into this game and it creates a negative atmosphere. That is what the game does if you're trying to play competitive. When you're an immortal, you sometimes feel like many players on the servers despise you. Absolutely. When you're competitive, you got to have spies to manipulate and collect information on potential alliances. This is something that we never really did. We didn't bother with this. We just played our own game. If people sent spies in our clan, so be it. Who cares? We weren't gonna go and try hard to that level. And what I mean by that is we were gonna do our best. We were gonna organize properly. We were gonna recruit properly. But we were not gonna do any of the underhanded things that anyone else did. Not saying that that's a wrong thing to do, but that's just not what we wanted to do. We didn't ally and backstab each other. We didn't necessarily go and last second team up against people. We didn't send spies to people. We didn't lie to people saying one thing. We never did any of that, but this is absolutely the name of the game. And that's part of the reason why we no longer could compete with people, because we wouldn't do that type of stuff. We just didn't want to do it. And as they go on to say, you can get lost in the politics of the game. Absolutely. This is 100% true. And a lot of people either don't want to be competitive anymore, or they leave each other and go become immortals. That's the separation, right? For myself, for DM, for Chosen, the people that were in my clan and that were, you know, trying hard, we decided to pull back and become a little bit more casual. Not even necessarily casual, but someone that doesn't necessarily go in and want to do all the clan activities, because A, they're not really that rewarding, to be honest. The only thing that's rewarding is the legendary crest. And then B, it's so much drama. And we were some people that wanted to create a community rather than at a competitive clan later on. And then they go on to say, you're also facing the reality that we're not going to be immortals again, as most of our clan are low spenders. This is, again, just a pay to win problem. So 100% true. I'm not 100% sure that it is truly meant for it to get to where it is now, that in order to be an immortal, you're going to need a full clan of spenders. And if you're a free to play player, you might never get the chance to experience what an immortal is all about. So I'll say I'll say 2 things about this last portion. 100% they want everyone to spend. Okay, this is 100% true. They want everyone to spend as many people as you possibly can. However, I would say that you don't necessarily need to be a spender at all to be competitive. In a clan, the only thing that matters is the 8v8 at the end. Because when you enter the immortal fight, yes, your resonance matter. Yes, it does matter to some degree, but it seems to be a balancing mechanic. I've never been able to figure this out because in terms of like the actual numbers. Let me know if someone else has actually done the math on this, but from what I've experienced in every single shadow fight and, you know, the big immortal fights, when you're fighting those big guys, it really ends up seeming like a balanced game mode somewhat. Kind of similar to, if you guys remember the Echo of the Immortal way back when, like 4 months ago or something like that, when people were like, oh, it's a balanced PvP game mode, but then your legendary gems still had effects, your Paragon level still had effects. That's what it felt like to me. So yes, your resonance matter, yes, your spending matter for the Shadow Wars, but odds are you could probably get into a top 10 clan. And so if that's the case, the only thing that matters is your top 3 players. If you have 3 players that are 7K, you could compete to become immortal easily. If assuming everyone's free for all. If you get to immortal, then you start to have, okay, now you need a full clan of spenders if you want to defend immortal, because you need to beat all the fights. But if you, in order to become immortal, you only need 3. That's it. And that's the problem, in my opinion, with this system and clan systems, that the players, it boils down to 8 or 3 players. That's it. And that's pretty rough. And, you know, as I said, I'd like to hear thoughts on other clan leaders. Well, I was a clan leader for our server, one of the biggest clans, well, probably the biggest clan across most of the Diablo Immortal, if not all, because we ran 3 different clans that were all in the same umbrella. So overall, guys, I personally think this is not a problem at all. That's my hot take. Let me, I don't know if you guys agree or disagree. Let me know in the comment section down below. Let me just explain this in just a second, or in a quick, little bit here. I don't think this is a problem because A, it's for extremely competitive players. Okay. B, Immortals are for the top 1%. You could say that's the problem, is that it's not, it's not widespread. But in my opinion, I think that a lot of game systems in a lot of games have that top 1% type of mentality where this mechanic is kind of exclusive unless you're super competitive. So I don't really have a problem with that. And then 3, this is what the game is meant to be about. In my opinion, you can't really say that something's a problem if the developers designed it to be that way and then it's literally executing exactly how they designed it to be. For example, if, let's just say, I don't know, you had anything like a bull and it was designed to hold stuff, and then it holds stuff, but it holds too much stuff. And you're like, that's a problem because it holds too much stuff. It's like, no, that's what it was designed to do. And that's exactly what I think of when people call this a big problem. Because to me, it's what Blizzard wants. This is what they want as developers. It may not be what the players want, and so you could say it's a problem for me. I don't like to engage in that activity, but in terms of the game overall, I don't know if you could say that, in my opinion. Again, you're free to disagree down below. But that's kind of my thoughts on this whole thing, which is kind of funny. And I wanted to mention a couple things. I actually made a biggest problem video, and I actually talked about the set items. You can see on Paragon 248 here, and this was before set crafting. So this was a long time ago, and I farmed over 900 dungeons without getting a Vithus set, and over, I think, 500 dungeons without getting a single Vithus piece. And to me, the drop rate and the set items were the biggest problem in Diablo Immortal. That, to me, has always been the biggest problem, is the set grind. I think that is just too much, especially considering, for me, I swap classes a lot, and so you have the strength intelligence thing, and that's also a big problem. Later on, I also talked about the dungeon nerfs, or set items reduced. And I wanted to address this one because it's in relation to my biggest problem. And I actually think they did a good job on solving this problem. A, adding the chest at the end, which is something that wasn't there before. B, set crafting. And C, they added the guaranteed set item per day. They've done a lot of things to improve this, and so I think that they've actually addressed that biggest problem and what I would consider is the biggest problem in the game. I did want to mention one thing also about that video after the fact, because a lot of people pointed this out. I made a mistake here when I was going over the Reddit post. They actually separated their dungeon drops from the boss and the chest here. I read this wrong when I was reading through it, and this just goes and reinforces what I said previously. It was that this is boosted dungeon. They got a total of 23 set items across 100 runs, which puts it at a 23% drop rate, which is exactly where I put my range at, 20 to 25%. Now, this is 100 dungeons. The amount of I've run, which is 500 dungeons, ended up about, I think, a little bit higher than that. It's all RNG based. You could have way higher, way lower, but over the course of thousands of hundreds of thousands of runs, you will average out to a specific number. Unfortunately, I can't do that amount of runs, so I do runs, 100 runs here, 500 runs there, just to give you guys an idea. And any, like if we click on this other boosted post, the Destruction Zen boost, you can see here, this guy says 19 and 5, so 24. 24 out of 100, it's 24% drop rate. So again, it seems like they're not nerfed at all. I don't know what else to tell you guys, but because of that, what I mentioned this is for, they fixed the biggest problem in what my opinion was the biggest problem in Diablo Immortal, which is that they increased the drop rates. Now, should they increase it more? Probably, but they are addressing the biggest problem. And I don't think that this post is something that really should be focused on in the game, because it really only caters to 1%, if not less, of the population of the game. Because most people don't participate in the Shadow versus Immortal kind of drama or participate in the Immortals at large anyways. It's literally 300 people. That's it. And most of the time it'll be 300 people and then another 300 people and it swaps off, right? So 600 people total in the entire server. We have thousands of people on our server. There's no way that most people here are going to even interact with the Immortals or want to. And so I don't think that the focus should be on this at all. I think it should be on this. Set items, PvP, and drop rates for the future. Let me know in the comment section if you agree or disagree. Let me know if you think that the Reddit post is a big problem, 1. And 2, let me know if you think this is the more important thing to focus on. I personally believe that this is the bigger problem in Diablo Immortal. They're addressing it, but I still do think that this is something that a lot of people have a problem with. And so if they address it even further, it gets better and better. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you all tomorrow.